Alright, so today I've got another batch of Nintendo Switch eShop deals, and this sale is packed with some absolute gems. Now, as always, I'm covering the US, Canada, UK, Europe and Australia, and later in the video, I'm going to be announcing the two winners for two $10 eShop gift cards. Now, of course, I've got two more to give away as well. If you do want to enter, it's super simple. Just drop a comment down below and I'll announce those winners in next Saturday's video. And if you are new here, on the back of that, consider subscribing. It helps a smaller channel like mine a huge amount. I put out daily Switch content here, deal roundups, reviews, performance breakdowns, lists, all that good stuff, all Nintendo Switch. And yeah, now let's get into it. Okay, so just very quickly, a note before we do dive in. I've been a little quieter on the channel of this week. In fact, I haven't posted anything since last Saturday's video, and that's not because I'm slowing down, but because I'm heading to Gamescom in Germany this week. There will still be a couple of videos on the channel, but the big focus is the event itself. I will have a ton of content to share when I get back, and I cannot wait. In the meantime, however, keep an eye on the Shorts tab this week. I don't usually post them too often, but this week, I'm going to be trying to grab footage of Final Fantasy VII, Elden Ring, and just plenty of heavy hitters we're expecting on Switch and Switch 2. So yeah, a huge list of games I want to check out, and hopefully Shorts are going to be the quickest way to give you all, a sneak peek. So yeah, look, apologies if that's not your thing, because yeah, I may go a little overboard. Vigil, The Longest Night is 45% off a new low price, and it's had a bit of a strange history, we'll say that. Originally released back in 2020, it was removed from the eShop in 2023 before making a surprising return earlier this year, and honestly, I'm glad it did. This one, it's a dark, atmospheric 2D action RPG, very much in the Souls-like mold, with heavy Salt and Sanctuary vibes. Now, you play as Layla, a member of the Vigil, investigating a creeping corruption that's twisting her world into something, monstrous. The environments so drip with gothic detail, enemies are grotesque and often relentless, and while it's absolutely challenging, it's also fair and rewarding once you learn the patterns. So yeah, for me, the moody kind of world building, the really fun combat, it just makes this one, an underrated indie gem on the system, and it is well worth checking out at this price. Rift the NecroDancer is 25% off a new low price, and this one only launched back in March. Now, it's a spin-off of the Crypt series, but don't expect the same formula. It shifts into a rhythm action, but completely different feel. Now, you play Cadence once again, this time though helping her navigate life's bizarre problems through rhythm battles against everything from traffic jams to quirky enemies in arenas. The art style is bright, really fun and constantly shifting. It gives each stage a very unique personality, and the music, as you'd expect, just drives everything. Now, is it as good as Crypt the NecroDancer or Cadence a Hyrule? No, I don't think anyone would claim that, but it's still packed with charm, energy, and replayability. And yeah, I had a blast, so definitely worth jumping into. Wild Bastards is 70% off a new low price, and it's the spiritual sequel to the brilliant Void Bastards, where that game was all about comic book roguelike ship raiding. Here the team takes into a futuristic Wild West. Now, the story revolves around reuniting your scattered crew, and yeah, the structure here blends map-based strategy with first-person arena battles where each character brings unique abilities. You basically pick two, you can switch between them. But yeah, expect to be hopping from planet to planet, gathering resources and taking down enemies in real tight shootouts. What stands out though is the blend of genres. It feels part strategy game, part roguelike, part shooter. And while I do think the relationship mechanics between crew members felt a little undercooked, the overall package kept me hooked for over 10 hours. Now, I will say on that point, by the end game I was feeling a touch of burnout because the arena battles quite repetitive, quite small locations. But I do think generally it's still a smart, stylish follow-up, and if you haven't played a Void Bastards yet, that one's an absolute must. Ninja Gaiden Master Collection is 50% off, matching the low price, and with Ninja Gaiden 4 set to be shown at Gamescom this week, this feels like the perfect time to revisit the series. I'm really hoping Gaiden 4 comes to Switch. But yeah, here you're getting 3 of the most brutal, precise action games ever made. That's Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Sigma 2, and 3, which is called Razor's Edge, all bundled together. These are fast, punishing 3D action games that demand precision and reward mastery with slick combos, boss fights that test your patience, and some of the most aggressive enemies you'll find in the genre. My only complaint is that the first game's port looks a little dull compared to how I remember it, maybe even kind of flatter than 2 and 3. Still though, look, for fans of hardcore action, it's an essential package, and it's a great warm-up potentially for whatever's next. Off is 15% off as a launch discount, and I actually just finished this myself. Probably won't have time to get a full review out before Gamescom, but I wanted to give it a quick mention here because really loved it. It's a surreal RPG that thrives on being strange and unsettling, with minimal direction and a narrative that constantly throws you off balance. Now you play as the mysterious Batter, exploring bizarre zones, solving puzzles, and battling unusual enemies in a turn-based system that looks simple on the surface, but it hides a really sharp difficulty curve. I definitely hit a few points where I got stuck, not just because of the combat, but because of the exploration. So yeah, it's challenging, it's incredibly odd, and it's unlike almost anything else on the system. And yeah, for me, that uniqueness is exactly why it works. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered is 35% off, a new low price, and as someone who grew up with these games, I had to include them. These are 2 classics. The world is incredible. The journey for vengeance. Yeah, insane. That said, the reality is these remasters are typical Aspire ports. Serviceable, but bare bones. And the games themselves absolutely show their age. The combat is clunky, exploration is dated, and I will say this, look, without nostalgia, I'm not sure they'd land the same way. For me, the atmosphere, the writing, the iconic shift between spectral and material realms, it still holds up because maybe I just have fond memories of them. But I just wanted to put that warning out there. Promise Mascot Agency is 25% off, a new low price, and this is one of the most unusual games I've played this year. Now, from the team behind Paradise Killer, which I thought was a masterpiece, by the way, this one surprised me by going in a completely different direction. You're running a mascot talent agency in a bizarre alternate Tokyo, which means driving around the city, managing jobs, and interacting with some of the strangest and most memorable characters you'll encounter. The writing, like Paradise, is sharp, the world incredibly eccentric, and even the light business management mechanics adds a nice touch. So yeah, it's weird, it's stylish, and yeah, really just generally very unique. Stray is 25% off, a new low price, and while the Switch version is far from perfect, the game itself is something special. You play as a stray cat, navigating a neon-soaked, robot-populated city, solving light puzzles, and platforming your way through a story about survival, companionship, and hope. Now on Switch 1 it suffers visual downgrades, weaker textures, and frame rate stumbles. But even then, the heart of the game shines through. Now on better hardware, it's celebrated for a reason, and I really hope it gets a proper Switch 2 release. If you can, however, accept the compromises, it's still a very touching and memorable experience. The Thing Remastered is 30% off, a new low price, and this is another win for Night Dive Studios. They are just really the masters of doing these rebuilds the right way. Now, originally released in 2002, it's a third-person survival horror set after the events of John Carpenter's movie. Basically, you're leading a squad through an Antarctic base, still crawling with alien terror. The hook was always the paranoia. Squad mates become infected and turn on you, and this can happen at any moment. But by the end game, it leans a little too hard into action and this mechanic as well. But look, I've got to say, at the time of release, it was groundbreaking, and the atmosphere, the tension, the mechanics, still, for me, make it somewhat special. You've got to appreciate what it was doing back then. And this port absolutely does it justice. And yeah, in my opinion, it's a game that never received the credit it deserves. Darkest Dungeon 2 is 40% off, a new low price, and while it doesn't quite reach the heights of the original, still a fantastic roguelike, and that's a big change. They changed it into a roguelike. Instead of dungeon crawling with that base building layer, this sequel throws you into runs, where you're guiding a stagecoach through this collapsing world. You're making tough decisions, and you're battling stress as much as monsters. The new art style, though, gorgeous, very dark, very kind of painter-like. There's this really good, oppressive mood that fits the tone perfectly. Now, some fans, I get it, they didn't like the change to the structure, But I respect that Red Hook Studios took the risk. It keeps the formula fresh. And most of the new ideas, for me, they worked. So yeah, it's not a replacement for the original. I'd play both for sure, and I'd of course rate the first one much higher. But it is still one of the better strategy roguelikes out there. Alright, so the two winners of last week's draw, they are on screen right now for the two $10 eShop gift cards. Congrats on the win both, email me for the code, and everyone else, drop a comment down below for your chance in next Saturday's video. Just a quick note on this as well, actually. I'm going to be a little behind this week. I'm actually behind already on sending these codes out, so please do bear with me. Going to be traveling, going to be pretty much non-stop all week, so I will respond as quickly as possible. Alright, so our last game of the video, Hogwarts Legacy, is 80% off a new low price, and this is a deal with a twist. The Switch 2 version is only 30% off. But you can grab the Switch 1 version at this massive discount and then pay around $10 on the eShop for the upgrade. That ends up saving you a huge chunk of change. The catch though is actually finding that upgrade. Everyone struggles with this. So the upgrade hides in the main menu under additional content, and you'll need to do it from a Switch 2. Now as for the game itself then, it's a massive open world RPG where you live out your wizarding life, exploring Hogwarts, flying brooms, and battling dark wizards. On Switch 2, that build, it looks and runs incredible. There's no load screens between areas or shops, they're completely gone. That was the biggest issue with the first version, in my opinion. And yeah, add in then the visual upgrade, and this feels like the way it was always meant to be. And that is the video down. What will you be adding to the library this week? Let me know in the comments. With that then, subscribe if you enjoyed this one. Again, watch out for tons of Gamescom coverage, not only in this coming week, but probably the weeks following, because I'm telling you, tons of games that I'm hopefully going to be able to get through the queues and yeah, check out. But anyways, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers all.